Get ready to improve your mindset, increase your skill set, and expand your network. Follow along as the CEO of Master Networks brings you over a decade of business networking experience. Welcome to Word of Mouth with Chaz Wilson. Summer Series featuring the Master Networks HQ staff.
I just had a conversation with a member of Master Networks who asked and talked about the difference between lead generation and referral generation. First of all, what do you think the difference might be between lead generation and referral generation?
So lead generation says to me more of like searching something online, cold calling, versus referral, which is, I don't want to say handed to you, but like kind of word of mouth is somebody suggesting somebody to you, warm introduction, something like that. Am I on the right
You're on
track?
the right path.
Okay.
In fact, what's interesting is he was saying, because he's recently started his business, he'd been working somewhere else, he started this business. And what's fascinating is he said he recently joined Master Networks and he's talked to more people in the last month, had more conversations of feedback than his ads were giving him online, right? Because people
and
see
he's
the ads.
spending money on these ads, I'm sure.
Exactly. So people see the ad. He knows that because he can see his metrics, but there's no feedback. There's no feedback loop. And so what he's really understanding is that the word of mouth, that in the chapter, he's getting this feedback.
Yeah.
And so the reason I bring that up today is because I think it dovetails really nicely into our guest today, who helps people launch chapters where they can get referral generation coming out of the chapter to help grow their business, not just lead generation.
Gotcha, yeah.
So I want to introduce Kristin Walton, who is one of our virtual success coaches, to Word of Mouth. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So you heard me just talking about referral generation and what that looks like as we, as we grow chapters. So first of all, Kristin, what's your role? And we'll tie in how referral generation comes in. What's your role as a virtual success coach? What do you do at Master Networks?
So as a virtual success coach, I obviously work virtually, which is kind of nice. So I can work with a lot of people all across the country. And I help people who have heard of Master Networks by word of mouth. They know people that are members of Master Networks, or people who are already members of Master Networks that maybe want to form a chapter closer to where they live. And so I help them through that process. So I kind of think of it as you're parenting, like I'm helping these chapters grow and mature a little bit and get to, a specific number. And then I teach them how to run that chapter. And then I kind of let them then go on their own. So
to get real simple, she's helping them, someone who wants to grow a chapter, get that chapter launched, and we kind of lock arms and we provide a success coach at no charge to the member to help them grow the chapter. So let me go back to the referral generation piece. Why is being part of a chapter of Master Networks so important to a business owner?
So I think because of what you said, they get those referrals. I think the thing that I've seen from people is there are people that will come in and join a chapter and they just kind of sit back and watch. And they're not building relationships with people and they're not getting referrals. I think the benefits of joining that chapter and building those relationships with each other, then those referrals come because they know somebody in the chapter and they're like, hey, this is my person. This is my plumber, or this is my roofer or my real estate agent. You have to go and see them because you've built that relationship together, and you get great qualified referrals, not just a random lead. So
yeah, it's powerful in business to have referrals coming in, but I want to step back to the role that you do, because I think it's established that most people understand it's not what you know, it's who you know,
Right.
Which is key to why you want to be part of a network and be part of something like Master Networks. But I want you to both think for a second. Have you ever bought a product or a service, and once you, probably more of a service, I would imagine this would fall under, but you bought something or you signed up for something and then you don't know how to use it, or you don't know what's next.
Yeah.
Right? Can you guys think of one? What does that feel like? What does it feel like? Yeah. What's that feel like? Open-ended question. What's it feel like?
Yeah, no, it's not good. I mean, yeah, it's hard because you're like, okay, I don't know how to use this. I don't even know who to reach out to learn how to use this product or, whatever. So yeah, it's not a good feeling for sure.
It's like anxiety inducing, kind of panic inducing. The one that comes to mind is my car that I currently have didn't come with an owner manual, and I got it from, CarMax, who are fantastic, but they didn't go over anything about the car with me. So I'm in there and I'm pumping gas one day, and I'm going to pump gas and I can't get the cap open. Like it won't open. Well, it's because my car was locked. I've never had a car that did that before.
Huh.
Nobody told me that was a thing, and I couldn't find the owner manual anywhere. I had to Google it. So just a very extreme example.
So you had to figure it out on your own.
Yes.
Right. But so most businesses, this is what they do. They put all the energy and effort into selling you a product or a service, right? And then, but the problem is once that's done, that's where they stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you look at like Master Networks and our core value of relationships is our first core value, having someone like Kristin, when you're starting a chapter, we go beyond that, because that was the one thing we didn't want is, okay, you raise your hand and sign up to start a chapter, but now we give you a virtual success coach to help you do that and to launch that chapter. So Kristin, walk us through just for a second, like let's say somebody raises their hand and said, I understand networking. I understand the value of referral generation and generating referrals. What do I do now when they work with you to launch a chapter? What's just kind of a couple of the steps?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the steps is that person that wants to start the chapter, they and I will meet, and it's through a Zoom call, and we will kind of like brainstorm and go over, and I will, because sometimes you think of just small people in your circle that you want to invite to your networking group, but sometimes I'll have them think outside of the box, like, who have you called recently? Like maybe you have someone come clean your house and they might want to be in there. So I try to like open that box to them of like brainstorming people that they can reach out to invite to the chapter. And then, they reach out to people, and sometimes we'll get on a call and I'll explain to people what Master Networks is, because some people have never networked before and it's scary for them to do something they've never done before. And so I will meet with people and we kind of explain that, and then they just kind of invite people, and the chapter just kind of starts growing and going from there. And it is that snowball effect. The more people that join, the more people are inviting, and then the more people are joining with that as well. And it's been so fun to watch these chapters grow and these relationships build. People that didn't know each other the first day of like a chapter development meeting, and then by the fourth or fifth meeting that we're having, they're like, hey, we went to lunch yesterday, or we did a face-to-face or whatever. And, or they are becoming friends and they're doing like date nights as couples and things like that. And so it's really cool to see that relationship grow.
Let me jump in there. So you talked about two things. Let's just go back to one. One was the chapter development meeting. So it sounds like there's more than just you getting on a Zoom call and explaining what Master Networks is. There's a process, and like you have. So explain what a chapter development meeting is.
Yeah, so a chapter development meeting is similar to a regular weekly meeting that you would have as a chapter, but we're developing the chapter, so hence the name chapter development. So we kind of go through the benefits of Master Networks. People are inviting visitors or people that they want to join the chapter that they're interested in having in the chapter. And so we kind of go over the benefits of Master Networks. We kind of show them a little bit, kind of like a mock meeting, I guess you could say, what they can expect when they join the network. But it's developing the chapter. We're kind of having a group discussion. How do we want this chapter to grow? Who do we think would be great synergy partners or an asset to this chapter? And then we kind of brainstorm and start inviting people, because as you talk about that, sometimes people are sitting there and they're like, oh my gosh, I know a mechanic. Like, I'm going to call him after this, because we all need a mechanic in this chapter. And so it's good to have those brainstorming kind of meetings and those chapter development meetings to kind of help it grow.
What I'm hearing is there's this idea that some people you could probably have the conversation of, this is what Master Networks is, and they can see that blueprint. They can just visualize it. They know it. But then the chapter development meeting, what I'm understanding is it's like the model home. It's like I get to walk through it, see it, and understand exactly what that looks like, so that I could potentially make that decision to join or not. Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because there are people I talk to that are like, I don't need to see anything else. I love that you guys build these relationships first. And I want to be a part of that. And then other people are like, okay, hold on. I need to see a meeting or two. I need to see these discussions.
Right.
Yeah. So exactly like that.
So what do you think, as you've taken people through this journey, what's probably the biggest question or thing that holds people back from saying, hey, I want to start a chapter?
I think some people, well, it's kind of like what we were just talking about. Some people need to see that model home, and some people it's scary. They don't think they're the type of person that knows anybody that's going to want to join. And so they think, well, I can't start this, or they honestly, the sad thing to me is they don't see that benefit because they haven't participated yet. And so they're just standing on the outside looking at this blueprint, and they don't get it. They don't see that vision until, you know what I mean? And so I think as you invite people into those meetings and they can visit meetings, they see it and they get it.
Yeah. In my experience, it's been like a network. The tragedy of a network is that people wait too late to start to build their network. Right?
Gotcha.
So what I mean is, when they need their network is when they realize they need a network.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
Right. And so if everything's good today and you're making a lot of money and business seems to be going and personal life is great. See, it could be personal or business. You're going to need a network at some point in your life. You're going to need support. So if things feel great today, go out and build the network today. Don't wait till it's too late. And so I think that's kind of what Kristen's saying is the tragedy is people will go, well, I don't know. I don't see the benefit. Things great for me. The economy's good right now. I don't really need a network. Or the second thing is they think it's complicated to start a chapter. And that's where, Kristin comes in to really walk them through the 7 steps to launching a chapter and through that process. What's probably the biggest success story and maybe it's not in launching a chapter, but just as somebody's gone through that process that you've seen a change in them or you've seen a big success in somebody that's been able to go through that process?
Yeah, so I actually tell this story a lot to people that are starting chapters. So we had someone join a chapter that I think everyone in the chapter kind of was reluctant to have them be in the chapter at first because they were fresh out of high school and just starting a career. And I think some people were like, oh, they don't know what they're doing, whatever.
Is it because he was so young? Like they just questioned?
Yeah, he doesn't know anything about business. He just graduated high school. Like, what does he, what would he add? But I think he has been so great because he came in and he hit the ground running. A month after he had joined, I visited another chapter in Colorado, and a guy reached out to me through the Zoom chat, and was like, hey, you're from Utah. Do you know so-and-so? He's already reached out. So the more people I talk to in master networks around the country, he's already reached out to those people and done face-to-faces and
that's really neat.
Sent referrals to them, and they're sending referrals to him. He's out there networking, and he's been out of high school for a year, and it's just so amazing to see. And he's such a great asset to that chapter because he has a fresh set of eyes that he can,
that's a really good point.
There are some people who've been doing this forever and they're like, oh, it's like teaching an old dog new tricks. They're like, oh, we've been doing this way. It's great. It's awesome. But he's that fresh set of eyes, and he's out there. He's just killing it. So it's been awesome.
And I think as we get older in business, we start to make up stories in our head like, oh, no one's going to listen to me, or we're reaching out to people isn't worth it, or whatever stories we would tell ourselves. And he just doesn't have those.
Yeah.
So he can just reach out and connect with people. So I'm listening to the podcast today. I'm a business owner. I'm like, this sounds great. I don't have a chapter of Master Networks near me. I want to get started. What do they do? How do they reach out to you? And how do they connect with you?
Yeah. So if they go to the main website and it says to start a chapter, they can put their information in, and it'll be sent to a success coach. And we will then reach out to them and kind of get the ball rolling. It's like you said, it sounds like a 7-step process, but it really isn't that difficult. And I guarantee you already know a few people that would want to start a chapter with you anyway. And so that's all it takes is just talking and asking.
I want to just, for everyone listening, I want to emphasize 2 really important points. what Kristin just said there, and I just want to expand on it. What's really powerful in business is we think that we need to know hundreds, if not thousands of people. Look at Master Networks today, thousands of members, 20 plus states. That's not through advertising. That's through literally word of mouth, which is why we call the show that, right? It's through word of mouth. And it really came through maybe 18 key relationships over a 10-year period. And so for people who are looking at their business going, oh, really, this is a lot of work. This is the most important work you'll ever do to grow your business. Expand to 10 to 12 people that will help you grow it and expand the business. And I think then the second key piece is we make things more complicated than they need to be in business, right? That's just what we do as entrepreneurs.
I think just in general.
Well, in general, probably true, but we make them more complicated. And what she's saying is there's a really simple 7-step process to do that. And then the third, I guess, that just dawned on me is if you're in business selling a product or service, you should have someone who takes it post-sale to support. And like, that's all they do.
Yeah.
They're not selling, they're not upselling, they're not adding more products or services. They're just taking people and like helping them along the path. So those are my thoughts for today. Kristin, thank you for being part of this episode and sharing your wisdom with us. And we're going to have a question of the day coming from Katie.
What is your favorite summertime food?
Different summertime foods than the rest of the year?
I mean, it could be, there are things that you eat in the summer, I feel like, that are not in season in the winter, or like you wouldn't want soup in the summer. Always.
She would. She'll eat it anytime.
I know, but she doesn't really count summer. She doesn't like summer.
Kristin, what's your favorite summertime food?
I don't know if it's one food in particular, but I just love a good barbecue. Like, I love when you can go outside and barbecue and, hamburgers, corn on the cob, watermelon. Yeah, like a good barbecue. It's like
everybody in here in the studio shaking their head up and down like, yes.
Yes. That. And there's something about the smell and just being just around a barbecue in the summer. Oh, yes.
It's amazing how the smell and the food evoke so much memory and emotion to everything, right? Like, because I would agree with that. I think a good barbecue is the key.
Next week on Word of Mouth.
And why is coaching important?
So I love doing it for a number of reasons. One of the most important is I get to work with entrepreneurs and business leaders all the time. And I get to watch them not just succeed, but thrive.
I always say you can't afford to not have a coach. I mean, you'd never be a professional athlete without a coach, right? You'd never do something at a professional level and not be mentored and trained.
They're making their business from coaching. They're not successful in other businesses. You want someone who's successful in business to be able to coach you.